It was the 60th night. The moon hung over Seoul like a cold white coin, watching silently through the glass walls of the penthouse. Inside, everything was still, except for the ticking of the golden clock on the wall and the muffled sound of rain sliding down the windows. Parton sat at the edge of the massive bed, her heart thudding in her chest. 60 days, 60 nights, 60 dinners eaten in silence. The space between her and her husband had grown so wide she could feel it in her bones. The Korean Mafia boss, Jaemin Park, the man every enemy feared, had become a stranger in his own home. He no longer looked at her the way he used to. Once, his eyes burned with love and mischief whenever she passed by in her silk robes. Now he just nodded, expressionless, like she was one of his guards. He still paid her bills, still protected her, still made sure her closet overflowed with designer clothes. But he hadn't touched her, not even once. And worst of all, she couldn't blame him. 2 months earlier, everything between them had been perfect, almost too perfect. Parton had been that woman who turned heads wherever she went. Her skin glowed like melted caramel, her hair bounced with confidence, and her laughter was loud, full of life. She dressed like a queen, body-hugging dresses, heels that clicked power, perfumes that lingered like temptation. When she met Jaemin, she had no idea he was a mafia boss. She only knew he was dangerously handsome, always in black, with eyes that looked like they had seen too much. He had spotted her in a luxury art gallery in Gangnam. She was wearing a red silk dress and laughing with her friend. When he walked past, tall, calm, and dressed in a black trench coat, everyone moved aside when he entered, but not Parton. "Why are people acting like he's the president?" she whispered to her friend. Jaemin had turned, heard that, and smiled for the first time in months. That was the start of everything. Their dating phase was a movie. Trips to Jeju Island, dinners on rooftops, private jets, roses filling her bathtub, laughter in expensive hotels. Jaemin adored her boldness. He'd never met a woman who spoke her mind around him. She was sassy but sweet, funny but mysterious. When she finally agreed to marry him, Seoul tabloids called her the Mafia's golden girl. But after marriage, something changed. Parton woke up one morning, looked at herself in the mirror, and felt empty. The thrill was gone. She started dressing differently, long skirts, dull sweaters, flat shoes. She said she wanted to be more decent. When Jaemin tried to hold her, she'd pull away softly. "Let's pray first," she'd whisper, handing him a Bible her aunt sent from Kenya. He would smile and say nothing, even though deep down, it tore him apart. By the 30th day, he'd stopped reaching for her. By the 40th, he'd stopped waiting for her at dinner. By the 60th, he came home late, smelling faintly of whiskey and cigarette smoke, dropped his jacket on the chair, and went straight to bed without a word. Parton told herself she didn't care, that she was doing the right thing, that a woman had to focus on spiritual things. But the truth? She missed him, his laughter, his teasing, his warmth beside her in bed. And it didn't help that her reflection mocked her daily. The dull clothes, the tired eyes, the glow that had disappeared. One night, she decided to change things. She cooked his favorite dish, spicy beef stew with rice and kimchi. She lit candles. She wore one of her old dresses, red and silky, the one that used to make his pulse quicken. When he came home, she smiled shyly. "Welcome home, Appa." He looked at her, really looked at her, for the first time in weeks. But before she could say more, a woman stepped in behind him. A stunning Korean woman, tall, sleek, wearing a gold dress that shimmered with every move. "Parton," Jaemin said casually. "This is Minseo. She'll be staying here for a while." Parton froze. The candles flickered. Her heart dropped so low she thought she might faint. Minseo bowed politely. "Nice to meet you, Mrs. Park." Mrs. Park. That title suddenly sounded like a joke. Jaemin didn't even explain. He just walked past and poured himself a drink, ignoring the way Parton's jaw trembled. That night, she lay awake listening to them laugh downstairs. The deep rumble of his voice, the soft giggle of Minseo. Her pillow grew wet with tears. Something inside her snapped. The next morning, she woke up early, stared at herself in the mirror for a long, long time. Who was this woman staring back? Where was the fire? The glow? The girl who made a mafia boss fall in love? She opened her closet, pushed aside the sweaters, and pulled out a silk box hidden behind her old heels. Inside were the things she'd sworn off: lace lingerie, heels, red lipstick. She smiled at her reflection, whispered, "Let's remind him who he married." That evening, when Jaemin returned, the lights were dim. A soft jazz song played in the background. He dropped his jacket and froze. Parton stood at the doorway, wearing the red lingerie, her skin glowing under the chandelier. Her curls framed her face, and her eyes burned with a mix of pain and passion. "Appa," she said softly, "I made a mistake." He didn't move, his expression unreadable. She took a step closer. "You think I changed because I didn't love you, but I was just scared. You love danger. I love peace. I thought maybe if I became too holy, you'd stop bringing that chaos near me." Silence. Only the sound of her breath trembling. Then she smiled faintly, her voice trembling with a teasing tone. "But 60 days without me? You're stronger than I thought." For the first time in months, Jaemin's cold mask cracked. A small smirk appeared on his lips. He walked toward her slowly. "You think I didn't notice you praying every night? For me?" Parton blinked. "How?" He stepped closer, his breath brushing her ear. "Because I was praying too, Parton. For patience." She laughed softly, tears welling in her eyes. "Well, patience time's up." And when he finally touched her, it wasn't just desire. It was everything they'd both missed. The laughter, the warmth, the love they'd almost lost. That night, the clock ticked louder than ever, marking the end of silence. But what neither of them knew was that Mincio wasn't just a guest. She had come with a secret, one that could destroy everything Parton had just rebuilt. The morning after their long-awaited night together, Parton woke up smiling, something she hadn't done in months. The sunlight streaming through the penthouse curtains painted gold across the sheets. Jaemin was still asleep beside her, half covered, his hair messy, his chest rising and falling slowly. He looked peaceful, almost boyish. For a moment, she just stared. Her mafia husband, the man the whole of Seoul whispered about, the same man who made hardened gangsters tremble, now lying here, looking soft and vulnerable beside her. She grinned and whispered, "Look at you," the lion finally purring. She reached over, traced her fingers over his cheek, and laughed when he stirred. "Don't start trouble this early," he muttered, his deep voice still heavy with sleep. "Oh, you love my trouble," she teased. He opened one eye and smiled faintly. "Maybe I do." It felt like magic. The warmth between them, the laughter they'd lost finally finding its way back. But that peace lasted only until the door burst open. Mincio, the woman in gold from last night, stood at the doorway, wearing a tight cream dress and holding a tray with breakfast. "Good morning, boss," she said softly, bowing. Then her eyes met Parton's. "Oh, I didn't know Mrs. Park was awake." Parton sat up instantly, clutching the blanket to her chest. "You didn't know?" she snapped. "You're in my bedroom, sweetheart, not the guest room." Mincio blinked, pretending innocence. "Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you might like breakfast in bed." Parton smiled sweetly. "Oh, we already had breakfast." Jaemin coughed, hiding his laughter. Mincio flushed slightly but didn't move. "Boss, the meeting with the Busan associates is in 2 hours. Shall I lay out your suit?" Parton's head snapped toward Jaemin. "She lays out your suit too?" He raised his hands in surrender. "She's just helping around the house, babe." Parton laughed. That sharp, dramatic kind of laugh that meant trouble was coming. "Helping around?" she said, getting out of bed, wrapping the blanket around her body like a royal cape. "Oh no, honey, she's helping too much." After Mincio left, Parton marched straight to her closet, muttering under her breath in Swahili. Hi Nyamba Natakawa, Chief Security Leo. She wants to lay out his suit? She'll lay out her career instead." Jaemin just sat there, laughing quietly. "You're jealous." Parton turned, pointing at him with one manicured finger. "Jealous? Me? I'm just a concerned wife making sure my husband doesn't get his suits mixed up with someone's intentions." He grinned. "You're still dramatic. And you still love it?" she shot back, planting a kiss on his cheek before storming out to find Mincio. Downstairs, the penthouse smelled of jasmine and fresh coffee. Mincio was arranging flowers in the glass vase, humming to herself. Parton walked over, crossed her arms, and smiled. Nice perfume. Smells expensive. Is that the same one you wore to my dining table yesterday? Mincio looked up, startled. Yes. It's Dior blooming. Good. Return it. You'll bloom elsewhere. Excuse me? Parton leaned in, lowering her voice. I don't know what game you're playing, Miss Dior, but let's make one thing clear. This house already has a queen. Mincio swallowed. Mrs. Park, you're misunderstanding. Oh, I understand perfectly. You're here for business assistance, right? Well, consider me the new manager of your department. And with that, Parton plucked a flower from the vase, sniffed it, and walked off like a runway queen. Later that afternoon, Parton visited Jamin's office downstairs. He was seated behind his massive desk, focused on files. Busy? She asked, walking in without knocking. Always, he murmured without looking up. She walked behind him, massaging his shoulders gently. You need a break. You've been too serious lately. He sighed, leaning back slightly. Because you keep bringing drama, and I have to clean it up. She gasped playfully. Oh, please. You love my drama more than your money. He chuckled. That's a dangerous accusation. She bent down, whispered in his ear. Then arrest me. He turned, eyes dark with amusement. You're impossible. And irresistible, she added. Their laughter filled the office, until Mincio walked in again, holding a file. Sir, here's the report from... She froze when she saw Parton sitting on his lap. Parton waved cheerfully. Oh, hi again. Don't mind us. I'm just ensuring the boss doesn't overwork. You know how fragile Mafia men can be. Mincio looked awkward, mumbled something, and hurried out. As soon as the door closed, Jamin burst out laughing. You're going to scare that poor girl away. That's the plan, Parton said proudly. He turned her face toward him. You've changed again. How? You're glowing, and loud, and crazy, and I missed that. She smiled softly. Then don't let me fade again. He kissed her forehead gently. Never. That night, as they had dinner, Parton noticed Jamin's phone kept buzzing. He looked tense. Who's that? She asked. No one important, he said too quickly. She raised an eyebrow. Oh, really? Because you only lie that fast when it is important. He sighed. It's business, Parton. Just business. But when he left the table to answer the call, she overheard one line that made her freeze. Yes, Mincio found the file. Make sure no one else knows. Her fork fell. The sound echoed through the quiet dining room. Later that night, when he went to shower, she opened his briefcase quietly. Inside, she found a small black envelope labeled Operation Jinwoo, and Mincio's name written on the corner. Her stomach knotted. What was going on? She tiptoed to the balcony, clutching the file, and whispered to herself, Lord, I said I wanted spice back, but not this kind of spice. Just then, a shadow moved in the garden below. A man in a black mask stood watching the penthouse holding a phone. Parton's heart raced. She ducked behind the curtains, trembling. When Jamin came out of the shower, she tried to act normal, but her eyes gave her away. What's wrong? He asked. Nothing, she lied, but her mind screamed otherwise. That night, when he fell asleep, she couldn't close her eyes. Her thoughts ran wild. Was Mincio just a helper? Or a spy? Was Jamin hiding something from her? And who was that man outside their house? She reached for her phone and texted her friend Amma back in Kenya. Girl, I think I'm married to a full-time criminal and part-time liar. Pray for me. Amma replied instantly. You knew he was a mafia boss, Parton? Yes, but I thought mafia means fashionably mysterious, not international crime. She put the phone aside and looked at Jamin's peaceful face. Despite everything, she still loved him, deeply. But now she knew something dark was coming. As dawn crept in, she made herself a silent promise. Whatever this secret was, she'd uncover it before it destroyed them again. Because this time, she wasn't the quiet, dull wife who prayed her pain away. She was Parton Park, the Mafia's wife, the storm in silk, and she was back. The morning air in Seoul carried the scent of rain and new beginnings. But inside the Park mansion, things were far from peaceful. Parton stood in front of the mirror, curling her hair, humming an old African love song under her breath. Her curls bounced perfectly, her silk robe shimmered, and her mood was dangerously sweet. The kind of sweet that usually meant she was planning something. She whispered to her reflection, "Operation Know What My Man Is Hiding starts today." For 2 nights now, she hadn't slept properly. Every time she closed her eyes, she heard Jaemin's voice. "Minseo found the file. Make sure no one else knows." What file? What secret? And why did it feel like Minseo had slithered into their lives for more than helping around? Well, Parton was done pretending. If her husband wanted to keep secrets, he clearly forgot who he married. A woman who once found her ex's hidden side chick by recognizing her perfume on his pillow. She started her investigation like a true dramatic queen, in full glam. Red lipstick, diamond earrings, high heels that echoed power across the marble floor. Minseo was in the kitchen making green tea when Parton strolled in, smiling sweetly. "Good morning. My favorite personal assistant / uninvited guest." Minseo blinked. "Good morning, Mrs. Park." Parton leaned against the counter. "So, how's life living in someone else's mansion?" Minseo's hand froze on the teapot. I'm just here to help your husband, ma'am." "Help him do what exactly? Fold socks? Manage Mafia meetings? Or both?" Minseo tried to smile. "I handle his business files." "Ah, the mysterious files," Parton said, tapping her nails on the counter. "You must be very close to my husband then." Minseo stiffened. "It's professional." Parton smirked. "Good. Keep it that way. Because if it turns romantic, I'll turn professional in karate." Minseo nearly dropped the cup. Later that day, Jaemin left for a meeting, leaving his laptop on the study table. Parton waited exactly 2 minutes before sneaking in like a cat. She closed the door, sat down and whispered, "Let's see what's behind curtain number 1, Mr. Mafia." She tried guessing his password. "Parton 123? Denied." "I love Parton?" "Denied again." She frowned. "Wow, even your laptop denies me." Then she remembered something, the number 60. 60 days of silence. She typed 60 nights, and the screen unlocked. "Ha! You're still whipped," she whispered proudly. Inside, she found a folder named Confidential, Minseo. Her hand shook as she clicked. Inside were pictures, not romantic ones, but surveillance photos. Men in suits, guns, a warehouse. And at the center of it all, Minseo, handing over a black bag to a man Parton didn't recognize. "What in the K-drama is this?" she whispered. There were also documents labeled Double Agent, Infiltration Plan. One line made her blood run cold. Minseo, undercover operative assigned to monitor the Mafia boss's wife. Target, Parton Park. Her heart dropped. "What? I'm the target?" she gasped, clutching her pearls dramatically. Just then, the door creaked. "Looking for something, Mrs. Park?" Minseo stood at the doorway, her eyes cold now, her voice no longer soft or sweet. Parton froze, trying to act calm. "Yes, my lip gloss. It must have walked in here by mistake." Minseo smiled faintly. "You shouldn't touch things that aren't yours." Parton smiled back, pretending confidence. "Funny. I was about to say the same to you." They stared at each other. A silent, dangerous moment between 2 women who both knew the truth. Then Minseo leaned forward slightly, her voice like ice. "Be careful, Mrs. Park. Curiosity can be deadly in this world." Parton tilted her head, smiling. "And stupidity can be even deadlier, especially for people who underestimate me." Minseo's smirk vanished. She turned and walked away. Parton exhaled sharply once she was gone. Her heart was pounding, but her lips curled into a confident grin. Oh, she messed with the wrong African woman today. That evening, Jaemin came home late. He found Parton sitting on the couch with her arms crossed and a look that could slice glass. "Welcome home, liar," she said sweetly. He blinked. Excuse me? You heard me, Mr. Secret Agent Mafia. Why is there a file on your laptop about a woman spying on me? His face went blank for a moment. Then he sighed, sitting beside her. Pardon, I can explain. You better explain fast, because I already planned 3 different ways to slap you respectfully. He laughed softly despite the tension. Mincio works for me, but not how you think. She's part of my undercover team. We found out one of my rivals was trying to kidnap you. Parton froze. Kidnap me? Why me? Because you're my weakness, he said quietly. They know if they touch you, they can destroy me. Her anger melted instantly. He continued. Mincio was sent to stay close, pretend she's a threat, and keep an eye on everything. She reports only to me. Parton blinked, confused. Wait, so she's not your side chick? He laughed softly. No, my love. She's my bodyguard. I'd rather die than touch another woman. Parton exhaled, half relieved, half annoyed. You couldn't just tell me that? Instead, you let me turn into a full-time detective. He reached for her hand. I needed you to act normal. If you knew, you'd panic. And when you panic, you post Bible verses on Instagram. She gasped. You stalk my Instagram? He smiled. Always. She rolled her eyes dramatically. So you watched me suffer for 60 days? Just because of some mafia drama? He kissed her knuckles. I watched you transform into a woman I couldn't live without. Parton's heart melted. Ah. Don't make me blush when I was planning to throw your laptop out the window. They both laughed, and for the first time in weeks, peace settled between them. But just as she leaned into his chest, Jaemin's phone buzzed again. He checked it and his face went pale. Parton frowned. What now? He whispered. It's Mincio. She's gone missing. Her eyes widened. Missing? As in? Someone found out she was a double agent. The smile on Parton's face vanished. The danger was no longer distant. It was here. Jaemin stood up, his voice cold and sharp. Pack your bags, Parton. You're not safe here anymore. She rose slowly, fear creeping into her chest. Where will we go? He turned toward her, his eyes dark with determination. Somewhere they'll never find you, even if it means I have to disappear too. As he walked out to make calls, Parton stood still, clutching her necklace. Her life had gone from fairy tale to thriller, and she wasn't sure what tomorrow would bring. But one thing she knew for sure, whatever happened next, she wasn't leaving Jaemin again. She whispered to herself, if the Mafia wants war, they'll get it, but they'll also get fashion. She put on her heels, smirked at her reflection, and walked out like the queen she was. The night sky swallowed Seoul as black cars rolled silently through the back roads. Jaemin's men drove in a tight formation, their headlights dimmed, their faces grim. Inside the main car, Parton sat beside her husband, wrapped in a long black trench coat. She had thrown her essentials into a bag. Heels, silk robe, lipstick and her Bible, the full survival kit, as she called it. The rain beat against the windows as she looked out. The glittering city lights faded, replaced by dark hills and endless pine trees. She sighed. You know, when I prayed for a romantic getaway, this was not what I meant. Jaemin glanced at her and almost smiled. Even now, she could make him laugh. You wanted an adventure. I wanted Bali, not Batman's mountain hideout. He chuckled softly but didn't answer. His hand brushed hers, and for a moment, they just sat in silence. The hum of the car, the sound of rain, the weight of unspoken fear. Finally, after hours of climbing winding roads, they reached a secluded steel gate camouflaged by forest. It opened automatically after a code was entered. The car drove through, revealing a modern glass and stone villa built into the side of the mountain. Security lights flickered on, and mist rolled over the trees like ghostly silk. Parton's jaw dropped. Wait, this is your safe house? Why does it look like a Netflix villain's vacation home? He smirked. I built it for emergencies. No one knows about it, not even my men. She followed him inside, her heels echoing on the marble floor. The interior was minimal but luxurious. A fireplace, a huge window overlooking Seoul's distant lights, and shelves stacked with files and weapons. Well, she said, looking around. At least it's spacious enough for me to pray and panic at the same time. Jaemin turned to her, suddenly serious. Parton, you can't leave this place without me. Promise me that. She nodded slowly, sensing the tension in his voice. What aren't you telling me? He hesitated. Whoever took Mincio knows you're not just my wife. They think you have something valuable. Something I hid in your name. Her eyes widened. You did what? Documents. Names. Proof that could destroy one of the biggest syndicates in Korea. I needed a place no one would suspect. Parton placed her hands on her hips. So I've basically been walking around with a Mafia time bomb on my head? Not anymore, he said softly. You're here. You're safe. But even as he said it, the wind howled outside, and she couldn't shake the feeling that safety was an illusion. That night, the storm hit hard. The trees bent, the lights flickered, and thunder rolled across the mountains. Parton sat by the fireplace, sipping hot chocolate, wearing his oversized hoodie. Her earlier fear had softened into curiosity. She looked up at Jaemin, who was cleaning a gun at the table. Can I ask you something? He nodded without looking up. When you first saw me, before all the drama, what made you fall for me? He paused. You were loud. She frowned. Excuse me? You walked into that restaurant and told the waiter, if the food is bad, I'll sue the chef. Parton laughed so hard she almost spilled her drink. You remember that? He smiled faintly. How could I forget? You were the only woman who wasn't scared of me. She moved closer, lowering her voice. And you were the only man who didn't flinch when I said I could fry you if you cheat. He looked at her then, eyes soft but burning with something deeper. Parton. Before he could finish, a sharp noise echoed outside. A metallic click. He froze. Get down! He shouted, pulling her to the floor just as bullets shattered the windows. The room exploded with chaos. Jaemin grabbed his gun, firing into the darkness while dragging her behind the couch. Parton's heart raced. I thought no one knew this place. They must have tracked the car, he hissed, reloading. She peeked out and saw shadowy figures moving among the trees. Fear gripped her chest. But even then, her mouth didn't stop. I told you we should have gone to Bali. He gave her a look that was both exasperated and amused. Parton, not now. Another bullet hit the wall. Jaemin fired back, his movements precise, controlled. Then a grenade rolled across the floor. Down! He shouted, pulling her into a hallway as the explosion tore through the living room. The blast shook the mountain. Dust and smoke filled the air. Parton coughed, eyes stinging. We're going to die in a designer safe house. This is not how I pictured my obituary. Stay here, he ordered, standing. Oh no, I'm not staying while Rambo goes solo. You'll need a distraction. He stared at her, shocked. Parton. But she was already grabbing a fire extinguisher. Cover me, she yelled, running out, spraying white fog at the attackers. The confusion gave Jaemin a chance to shoot two men and tackle another. In the chaos, Parton picked up a fallen gun and accidentally fired it into the ceiling. She froze. Oops. Stay behind me, he shouted. Minutes later, silence fell again. Only the crackling of broken glass and the distant rumble of thunder remained. Jaemin checked outside. The men were gone. He turned to find Parton sitting on the floor, trembling and covered in dust. He dropped his gun and ran to her. Are you hurt? She looked up at him, eyes glassy. I can't believe I actually fired a gun. Do I get a Mafia wife badge now? He laughed softly, pulling her into his arms. You're crazy. I'm your crazy, she whispered, clutching his shirt. Don't ever send me away again. He cupped her face, his voice low and shaky. Never. You're my everything, Parton. The danger outside faded as he kissed her, slow and deep. A kiss born of fear, survival, and love. When they finally broke apart, she smiled faintly. Next time, can we fight from the spa instead? He chuckled. You and your drama. Hey, she teased, resting her head on his shoulder. You married the full package. Fashion, fire, and a little foolishness. He hugged her tighter. And I wouldn't change a thing. Outside, dawn began to break, casting soft gold light over the shattered safe house. The worst night of their lives had passed, but far away, in the forest below, someone was still watching. A voice whispered through a phone. They survived the mountain. Proceed with the next phase. The sun crept slowly over the mountains, painting the sky in shades of gold and pink. The forest around the safe house was silent now. No gunfire, no shouting, only the soft hum of nature after chaos. Inside, the safe house looked like a battlefield. Shattered glass, burnt curtains, and the faint smell of smoke lingered in the air. Yet in the middle of all that ruin, Jaemin lay asleep on the couch, his arm bandaged, his face finally at peace. Parton stood beside him, watching. Her curls were messy, her robe torn at the shoulder, and her feet were bare. But in that morning light, she looked like a warrior queen. Tired, bruised, but still stunning. She sighed softly. You fight like a movie star, sleep like a baby, and snore like a tractor. He stirred, half awake. You were supposed to be resting. She folded her arms. You were supposed to buy bulletproof windows. We both failed. He chuckled weakly, then winced when his wound pulled. Instantly, she was by his side, scolding and fussing like a nurse who loved too hard. Stop laughing. You're still injured, she said, dabbing his forehead with a damp towel. He gazed up at her, eyes soft. You stayed awake all night? Of course, she replied. Someone had to make sure no ghost with a gun returned. He smiled faintly. You were brave last night, Parton. I've seen trained men freeze in moments like that. She shrugged playfully. Well, when life gives you bullets, you improvise with a fire extinguisher. He laughed. A deep, genuine laugh that echoed through the silent room. Only you could turn a shootout into a comedy. She leaned closer, whispering, It's part of my African charm. We fight with style. For a moment, they just stared at each other, the air between them heavy but tender. Then his hand reached up, brushing a stray curl from her face. You saved my life. Her heart fluttered. Please, don't make me cry this early in the morning. I already used my last tissue wiping blood off the floor. He smiled. You're incredible. She looked away, blushing slightly. I'm a mess. No, he said softly. You're mine. The words hit deep, gentle, possessive, and full of emotion. For days, she had doubted whether he still saw her as the woman he fell in love with. But now, his gaze said everything. She sat beside him on the couch, laying her head on his chest. When I first met you, I thought you were just another rich man with too many bodyguards and too little emotion. He chuckled. And now I know you're a rich man with too many enemies and too much emotion. He tilted her chin up, eyes glimmering. And you still stayed. She smiled softly. I stay where love feels real, Jaemin, even when it's dangerous. They sat in silence for a while, the morning sunlight warming their faces. He played gently with her fingers, tracing small circles on her palm, something he used to do when words weren't enough. Then he whispered, You shouldn't have risked yourself last night. I almost lost my mind when that grenade went off. She looked up at him, voice calm but firm. You married a woman who doesn't run from storms, Jaemin. I fight beside my man, not behind him. His lips curved into a proud smile. That's why I love you. Later, she made breakfast, or what she called breakfast. Burnt toast, over-fried eggs, and tea that smelled suspiciously like perfume. When he limped into the kitchen, she was humming again, wearing his oversized shirt with her hair tied up in a scarf. The sunlight made her skin glow like caramel gold. Wow, he said, leaning against the counter. This looks unique. She raised an eyebrow. Unique means delicious in your language, right? He sat down, pretending to be serious. Totally. I can't wait to taste this creativity. She burst out laughing and flicked a crumb at him. You better eat it. It's made with trauma and true love. He took a bite, grimaced slightly, then smiled. Tastes like both. Parton laughed so hard she almost spilled her tea. See? You survived bullets, now you can survive my cooking. They spent the rest of the morning teasing each other, her mimicking his serious Mafia tone, him joking about her detective instincts. The tension that once filled the air was gone, replaced by lightness and laughter. But beneath that laughter, both knew the danger wasn't over. By afternoon, Jaemin was outside making phone calls to his men. Parton sat on the balcony, wrapped in a blanket, staring at the mist curling over the mountains. When he returned, his face was tight. "What's wrong?" she asked. "They found Minsio's car near the river," he said quietly. "No body yet, but there was blood." Her heart sank. "Oh my God! She risked everything to protect us," he said, clenching his fists. "And now," Parton stood and placed a gentle hand on his shoulder. "Hey!" She knew what she signed up for. You can honor her by finishing what she started, but not by breaking yourself. He looked at her, surprised. "When did you get so wise?" She smiled faintly. After surviving a Mafia gunfight in a silk robe. He exhaled, some of the tension easing from his face. "You make even death sound poetic." She grinned. "That's my brand." He pulled her close, wrapping his arms around her waist. "Promise me something," he whispered. "What?" "If something happens to me, you run. Don't wait. Don't fight. Just go." She looked up at him, eyes fierce. "Jaemin Park, if you die, I'll drag you back myself. Don't ever talk about leaving me." He chuckled softly, kissing her forehead. "You really are unstoppable." "Say it louder," she teased. "I like hearing it." He looked into her eyes, the morning light flickering in his dark ones. "You're my strength, Parton. My light. My reason." She smiled, her voice barely a whisper. Then, "Don't lose me. Not to enemies, not to fear." That night, the mountain was quiet again. They lay on the couch by the fire, wrapped in one blanket. His head rested on her lap, her fingers tracing his hair. "Do you think we'll ever have peace?" she asked softly. "One day," he murmured. "When this is over." "And what happens then?" He looked up at her and smiled. "Then I'll take you somewhere warm. No guns. No danger. Just you and me." "Bali?" she asked hopefully. "Bali," he confirmed. She giggled, brushing his cheek. "I'll hold you to that promise, Mafia man." He smiled faintly. "You always do." Outside, the forest whispered secrets to the wind. For now, they had peace, fragile, temporary, but real. Yet far away, in the dark valley below, a pair of eyes watched the villa through binoculars. A voice whispered into a phone. "The boss wants them alive, especially the wife." The line went dead.
Hello besties, thank you so much for watching. Can you like, subscribe and share? And besties, do you all need episode 2?